going on, my PT peeps and my Walking Dead family? One Eye Bri back from the PT channel to talk about The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 9 review and discussion. But obviously, spoiler warning, if you haven't seen the episode, you don't want to know about it, and you don't want to talk about it, stop watching now because we're going to talk about the episode. And it was a tough one to watch, but I don't think it was that tough of how they broke it up. It was like a little sad, and then the kingdom, and then Carl, and then the kingdom, and then commercial break, and then this. So I'll talk about that much more. But first, guys, if you can, join our Walking Dead family, our PT family, our community, our Walking Dead community by subscribing. It's easy. All you got to do is hit the subscribe button, get notifications when we post videos. We post videos all the time, and hope you become a valued member of the Walking Dead family at the PT channel. Now, right out the gate, the episode jumped around a little bit. It was flashbacks, flash forwards, the future, this, that, the vision that people wanted to see, and Rick's mercy prevails over my wrath. Carl's vision of his future is what we're looking at here with Judith, Rick, Michonne, and even Negan. Did you catch that? Carl is gone. It's a shame. It was his last episode. People thought that he was going to live, and maybe it was this and a Whisperer bite on there too. But it's sad. Carl Grimes is done off the show, and people didn't see the actual death, but he's gone, guys. Don't have hope that he's coming around. He came, he saw, he got killed, bit by a walker, and we finally got to see the actual bite. We saw that actually in this episode. We had to go back to episode 6, the bite into the clothes, and it was a shame because of how we had to wait and guess and see it off screen. We finally got to see it in this episode, which was good, but it's not good because of how he went out, and the death is kind of sad in many lights, but I can kind of see where they're going with it. But Carl fans, it's not going to happen. He's not going to be on the show anymore where he has a chance to survive. But hopefully people don't give up on the show. Carl fans probably will. But Siddiq, you kind of feel bad for the guy. He kind of redeemed himself at the end, saying, I can't do anything about this. I feel bad for this. I'm sorry. But I know Carl fans and people will hate Siddiq just because he's kind of responsible for it. He's not, obviously. The walker bit Carl, but Carl was trying to help him. And either way, Siddiq is a doctor, which was kind of cool that he could be around and help the group. So all things considered, you know, Carl over Siddiq, people would take Carl any day of the week. I liked the Carl-Judith connection. It was kind of a little cheesy when she was just staring at him. You could see that she's not going to have lines because she's a toddler, but Carl was pouring his heart out to her, and she's just staring at him, and you can kind of see it was kind of put together to show that Carl was saying that you're going to make it. Lori was talking to Carl initially, but Carl's not going to make it, and now he transpired the words of Lori to actually Judith, and Judith actually has the hat now, which is pretty cool. You could see Carl got the idea to write the notes from Michonne's note to him as Michonne went to the sanctuary to see for her own eyes when he was talking to Tobin, which was pretty cool. I don't know who else got notes. You saw the Enid, Michonne, and Dad one, but we'll see who actually gets a note. The Judith-Carl connection was cool, especially in the future vision that Carl wants to have. The Judith connection with Carl will live on, but will Judith actually be that big of a character? Only time will tell, and I hope so. Hopefully Judith will be a character that is molded into something, and that'll be a good twist and turn as it's different from the comic, and which is cool. And I know I like some deviations from the comic, but the Carl death is not a good one in my eyes. So Carl's gone. It's a shame. I'm going to watch the episode again to see if anything's that I missed, but obviously it's pretty cut and dry what happens. They jump from the sanctuary to the kingdom to Alexandria to the kingdom to Alexandria there. I still don't like the fact that Morgan didn't shoot any of these people here. He had adequate time to do that, and they were supposed to shoot the saviors when they come out and they see it. Morgan didn't do that at all. He could have taken at least a couple of them out. If he took a couple of those saviors out, they probably don't clear a path to leave, but they did, and they went to the kingdom, and we saw that Morgan is going to have a big part in the second half of Season 8 for sure. It already started here in the episode. We talked about this whole thing in the preview scene of the episode 809, and you could see Morgan, especially with the Henry and Gavin situation, that Morgan is definitely torn with what to do. He wants to kill all these saviors, and he is still cray Morgan clear mode, but you could see that he was teaching Henry stuff, and Carol was teaching Henry, and that's going to play a role in probably his departure because he doesn't want to be responsible for teaching kids like Henry or the young or any other people to kill. We'll talk about more of that in a second, but the walkers were cool. I like to see that. I like to see them more and more in it. I thought there'd be more walkers, but this was really the Carl show, Alexandria, the goodbye to Carl, and it was kind of cool to see how the Saviors got out and connect the dots with that a little bit. It jumped around a little too much for me, but overall, I thought it was a very good episode with the Saviors, Gavin, the Kingdom, Morgan, and of course, Carl, Rick, and Michonne. But Morgan, to me, is a big character in the world of The Walking Dead. As we know, I can't wait to see the connections for, the crossover and everything as the later part of the season. But I'm excited for the future of the show, of Season 8. How about you guys? I know Morgan is going to be a good bridge to both series. And I don't know if you're going to watch both series, but I know I am. I think Fear the Walking Dead will be a good connection point, and you can kind of see where things are happening with Morgan, even in this episode. So I gathered that from this episode, and we'll see. Then they jumped back to the sewer, and then back to the Kingdom, and then back and back. It was a little too jumping around for me. It was an extended episode, too many commercial breaks. Always, they're getting that ad revenue for sure. But, it's 83 minutes. The Gavin thing, you could see that he was torn what to do. He didn't want to kill Ezekiel. He wanted things to go back to the way they were, but you couldn't. We all knew that wasn't going to happen. You kind of liked Gavin. I know I did. I know some people don't, but I did. And Ezekiel was like, I made my decision. I freed my people. And he was willing to die for that. And you got to give credit to Ezekiel for sure. Carol and Morgan, they definitely stepped up as they always do, freeing and saving Ezekiel. Without Carol and Morgan, Ezekiel's gone. He's toast. He was going to go back to the sanctuary. But Carol and Morgan do what they do. They're probably the best people to take people out. And they did that, of course. Then it went back to the sewers and then back to the Kingdom and back to the sewers. It was just kind of like all over the place. I'm kind of glad they got Carl out of the sewers. I don't know how they got him out, but they did. Then Alexandria was still getting blown up or whatever the Saviors were doing. Dwight had the idea to just wait it out. Smart, because it worked. Even though you don't think Negan and them would have checked the sewers. They wouldn't have checked down there at all, like removed the manhole covers. But that's the show. Either way, Dwight, Rosita, you could see Tara even and Daryl, they're going to the hilltop. They left, and we'll see them in future episodes for sure. The Daryl, Judith thing, especially when he takes her with him after she got the hat, which was pretty cool. I know a lot of people thought who was going to get the hat, and Judith has it. But then they go back to Carol and Morgan and back to this and back. Like I said, it jumped around a little too much for me to get emotional. It was like back to here and back to there and back to this. So we didn't have time to get too emotional about the Carl thing. At least I didn't. Then Morgan is going around taking them all out. I mean, Carol and Morgan took out a big group of Saviors. And then, of course, Henry took out Gavin. But Morgan was just being Morgan. And you got to like that about he gets stuff done. You got to hand it to him. He's not all talk. He actually gets stuff done. And then they went back to the sewers. Back to Daryl. Didn't really say much to Rick. Was like, put his hand on his shoulder and then left. And then they were gone. Then back to Ezekiel and Gavin talking. You could see Gavin didn't want to kill Ezekiel. He felt bad about doing it, but he had to do it. And I liked the flash forwards, the flashbacks, the flash forwards and flashbacks. It kind of, like I said, it jumped around a little too much for me. How about you guys? What did you think? And the mercy prevails over my wrath. We'll talk about what this was at the end. Then you see future Judith and Rick. And Rick is so gray compared to everybody else in the future with the vision of what Carl wanted. Then you see Rick is taking it hard and Michonne when they're all talking. But I like the idea with Judith and Carl was really talking to Judith. Judith is just too young to have really lines and really take in what's going on. But Carl and Judith, hopefully Judith remembers Carl down the road. But Judith has the hat, and I thought that was a good connection when Carl was saying, like, every time I wore this, I thought of my dad and had the strength of my dad. Sadiq and Carl, you had to feel bad for Sadiq. But hopefully people aren't too hard on the character because Sadiq can be pretty useful going forward. He's a pretty smart guy, and we'll see what comes around. But Judith has the hat right here. Not a lot of people caught this in the Season 7, Episode 1 flash forward, but you see the hat right there. It's the flash forward of what could happen or what may have happened in the future they wanted to have, but Judith has the hat, and she has the hat now. Then Ezekiel and Gavin in the auditorium was pretty cool. The shootout, that thing with Morgan was pretty crazy, how he reached in that guy and ripped out the intestines. A little too much, but that's what Morgan does. He's crazy. Carol and Morgan get stuff done. They went in, took all those saviors out. The gun that slid in front of Ezekiel was Gavin's. Morgan and Carol, Morgan was getting beat up a little bit, but then when he reaches in that guy and man, it was just a little too gross, but we're getting some of the gore back, you know where it's at. Gavin was running away. Morgan went after him, and Gavin, you kind of felt like they should have kept Gavin alive, but that didn't happen, as we know. And then they went back to Alexandria and took Rick, Michonne, and Carl out of the sewers, which was good. I don't know how they got them out, but either way, it doesn't matter. Carl, Rick, and Michonne had their final goodbye in the church. It was kind of cool how they had the destroyed church and they were talking, and it was a lot of dialogue, a lot of send-off, a lot of big thing with Carl, Michonne, and Rick, and I liked it. It was just every time we would see Carl and Rick and Michonne, except for the very end, it would jump back to the kingdom. They would talk, and then it would be Gavin, and then this, and then the kingdom, then back to Carl, and then there. It was just too jumping around where it would be too emotional, but Gavin is trying to hide. Morgan comes out and rips him out of there. It was kind of like, you kind of could see Morgan was wanting to kill Gavin, but they're setting things up with Henry, you know, maybe has a bigger role in the series since Carl's going to be gone now. So Carl has his monologue, his last goodbye to Rick and everybody, and it was sad, and it was there, but we know it was coming. We didn't see the death. Of course, it was kind of a callback to the Lori connection with Carl, of course, the death in season 3. Ezekiel, Carol, and Morgan, you could see that Ezekiel and Carol wanted to save Gavin, and they were probably going to. Morgan was going to kill him, but he said, I have to. That's what he has to do. He's there to clear. He sees it in his mind. That's why he's still alive, is to get rid of all these threats, and it's taking a toll on him, obviously. Henry takes out Gavin. I knew it was coming because of the spoilers, but it's just, does Henry have a bigger part? What do you think, guys? The vision, the flash forward, was Carl's vision, which was cool. Is it something that can happen still? Yes. Is it something that should happen? Comic connection there? Sure. I like Old Man Rick. He just looks way too old compared to everybody else. Judith and Rick and Eugene and Jerry, they're walking around Alexandria. I don't have a picture of it, but did you see Negan in there too, in the vision as well? That Negan's just in there hanging out with everybody. Eugene's there, Jerry's there, Old Man Rick. And then they go back to Carl, and Carl's having his last goodbyes. He grabs his gun. Rick and Michonne are outside waiting for it to happen, I guess. And then you hear the gunshot, and it's over. And they're burying Carl. And we didn't see it, but it happened. Carl will be buried at Alexandria. Next episode, most likely, they finish the grave. And I like how they edited things, that they mixed it up a little bit. I didn't know if they were going to actually leave Alexandria, but that'll mostly be next episode. But Carl's going to be buried there in Alexandria. Here, I don't have a picture of it just yet, but the end of it, where Rick was laying in against the tree, did you see that he's wounded? Yes, he's there with the stained glass on both sides of the tree. He's in a field, an open field. We have some information about the season 8 finale, and that's, to me, what that's from. More to come on that at a later date. Thanks, guys, for watching. Check out the Walking Dead community Facebook page and a group. We got a PT channel page, Walking Dead Mystery Boxes page, Walker Stalker Fans page, Fight For Us page on Facebook, social media, Instagram, at the PT channel. Thank you guys for watching. Hope they become a PT Peep. That's a member of my Walking Dead family and this awesome group and channel, the PT channel. All you got to do is subscribe, get notifications, guys. We have a goal of 100,000 subscribers. We're going to be doing prizes, giveaways, and more. You got to be a subscriber to be eligible for that. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Let me know your thoughts. And remember, guys, it's not what you know, it's who you know.